Record button. Okay, now don't say anything salacious.
That's proof that Zoom is using AI.
What is that?
That
Oh, that
gl-
was giving you all that weird
that
glitchy
your
stuff.
that your yeah the glitch was full of like other images that it was
Oh,
probably taking from somebody else.
how's my level sound? I feel like I'm quieter than usual.
You sound normal. Do I sound weird?
No, no, no. I'm just as I said, everything in the universe is glitching at the moment. So,
Including
uh,
your own voice.
yeah, yeah. Everything's glitching out.
That sounds like puberties.
Simulation's breaking down. They're
Right on.
repeating. It's repeating itself.
Right. Okay, but yeah, we get to end the world with this podcast, though. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how this podcast starts now, by the way.
Which movie are we doing?
Beneath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to podcast 19. I'll start it.
Yeah, yeah. What what movie are we doing again? Is it a
No,
good
I
way to
knew it was
start?
an Apes movie. I'm just like, which
No, no,
one
I'm
was?
I'm talking about for the record, where the actual thing starts. Like if you hear the music and then what are we watching?
Oh,
What we're
you
talking
feel
about.
free to use them in whatever way.
No, I know that you know the Apes movies without having to review them. I almost like, do I need to watch Beneath the Planet of the Apes? I did at two speed because I've seen it
I
like
think
30 times.
Yeah.
there. I can't. I could count the number of movies I could do without rewatching on one hand. Like there are very few.
This
Like
is
I could.
definitely one I could do without watching. I mean, but I did.
I mean,
I
I've
think
seen it in
Like
the last 2 years.
yeah, I think I took like a little nap right at the end, but I know how it ends, you know.
You're not gonna miss
There's some
anything if you
there's some
take a nap
blood,
near the end of this.
some
I almost fell
blood.
asleep watching this, honestly. But
Okay,
Yeah.
that'll be
we'll get into
interesting.
that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, very interesting. Ah, okay. Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about sci-fi such as Planet of the Apes, Chapter 2.
I don't think they give it chapters. Would make
Now
sense as a
it's
chapter.
Chapter 2 of this podcast now.
Oh, okay. Chapter two of the podcast. Because the Apes movies
Volume
are quite discrete from each other, I feel like. I guess this is the one closest to another Apes movie, being Beneath the
Volume
Planet of the
2,
Apes.
Chapter 2.
Who's here? This is Matt here.
It's Mark.
That's Mark there. There's Andrew.
Andrew is here.
Andrew's
Hello.
there.
First timer, right? Your first time on this podcast.
I don't
You,
know which podcast is
Yeah.
this.
you didn't
Have
listen
you
to
ever
the
seen an
intro.
episode of Space 1999?
Yes, I have.
Oh, well, have
Oh,
you
we
ever
should have
talked
brought
to
you
us
in for
about
one.
it?
I have
Yeah.
not talked with you about an episode of Space 1999.
Sorry, we
But
should have brought you in. Jeez.
but
Well,
you are
no,
going ape.
that I would have to watch.
No. Yeah. I think Andrew, you've been on record as saying the Apes is your favorite film franchise. Am I wrong with that?
I think it's the best. My
Oh, not your
favorite is Final
favorite.
Destination.
Oh, okay. I get the distinction. Okay. The
Yeah,
best.
yeah.
Um, what are you qualifying that with? I'm thinking the fact that every movie definitively ends, yet they make another one is kind of part of the charm.
Not just that, it's just like even though the one we're talking about tonight is considered one of the lesser entries in the franchise, I still think they're all good movies. You know what I mean? And they all kind of follow each other pretty well, I think, even if they had to sort of go, oops, never mind, and start, you know what I mean? I just think that like it's consistently satisfying. They haven't, I don't think they've made one that I didn't like.
Yeah, I think it's like they don't hold anything back. That's the thing with all the sequelitis these days, where you can't quite end your movie, and even if you did, you have to have the post-credit sequence. That means you didn't end your movie now. So
Yeah, and they're
Well,
what's wonderful is they all have like like endings like maybe there won't be another one. You know what I mean?
maybe not the most recent one, but
well, we're
Oh, they
talking
know
old
they're
school
doing a
apes here.
trilogy.
Yeah,
That's different. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's a
Well,
little different.
that's the infection getting into the latter day ape sequels, isn't it? Now you can't just definitively end it.
I
Which
don't
is
really
cool to
care.
me
I
because I
loved
love
that
them.
movie. I loved it. It was one of my favorite movies. Was it this year?
Kingdom,
Jeez.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
No, no, there's
Yeah,
plenty
I
of
loved it.
recent movies I like that
Yeah.
don't end properly. But yeah, we just finished watching the first season of Shogun. I'm like, shouldn't that have like ended definitively, even if they're doing a season two? It just seems like it should have, you know? And it
That's
didn't.
the way with TV.
Yeah.
They want to leave something open, you know, or it would be a nice ending, or it could be a beginning, which is a you know,
Well,
we're living in a different world than when the Apes original series was going.
I think sometimes a cliffhanger that never gets resolved is more interesting than finishing it up.
Like Alf.
Unfortunately, yeah, that was pretty interesting. I think because well, your brain has to wrap it up. But I know there are definitely people I've seen talk about this on the internet where they will wait and see if something is finished on like a streaming service before they watch any of it, and that's crazy to me.
Oh
I don't
God.
know.
Yeah,
I
what if you die before it, you know what I mean? Like, God, just do
I
it.
guess they don't care. I guess they don't care. I like it must be finished or I will not start it. I don't get that because
That's a level of discipline I do not possess.
Well,
it's like
spoiler
what it
alert, Beneath the Planet of the Apes has like the most definitive ending ever of any movie.
Yes, it
yeah,
does.
the second. Well, it's like we can
The
compare
very
this to
70s.
Highlander too, sort of, even though Highlander, the first Highlander is the one that had the definitive ending. But this is also a big swing, insane movie that
Mhm.
doesn't work as well as the first one, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Good night.
All right, bye.
So, Mark, did you
Well,
write
it,
up
we're
some
finished,
trivia on
so
this
you can
one?
finish
You
listening.
didn't
Anyway,
finish your trivia.
yeah, I barely did. Um, okay, here we go. After Planet of the Apes became a breakout hit, a sequel was immediately put into development at 20th Century Fox. Rod Serling was consulted for a story, but the studio wanted a script faster than he could provide one. So the producers then turned to Pierre Boulle, who wrote the original novel. He wrote a draft for a sequel called Planet of the Men, where George Taylor leads a slave uprising, but it was rejected because it lacked the visual shock and surprise of the original. Put a pin in that. Associate producer Mort Abrams wrote some initial story elements, and British screenwriter Paul Dane was hired to finish the script. They share co-writing credit on the finished film, initially titled Planet of the Apes Revisited. Pretty bad title. Charlton Heston was uninterested in returning as Taylor, partly because he did not believe in sequels, and stated his opinion that a second Apes movie would be a lackluster, quote, adventures amongst the monkeys. But after some negotiation, he agreed under the condition that he was to have a small role, get killed off, and have all his pay go to charity. It's often reported that Heston demanded the destruction of Earth at the end of the film. This was not true, but the plot point was his idea, and he did suggest it because he wanted to end the sequels. I believe Richard Zanuck pitched that to the writers before he was fired. Franklin Schaffner was busy directing Patton, so TV and film director by the name of Ted Post was enlisted for the film. He did not like the destruction of the planet and thought the script didn't make a point at all. So he tried to get Michael Wilson, one of the writers of the first film, to do a rewrite, but the budget wouldn't allow for it. So Post and star James Franciscus spent a week rewriting it themselves. Roddy McDowall couldn't return because he was in Scotland directing Tam Lin, and Jerry Goldsmith couldn't return because he was also working on Patton. He was replaced by Leonard Rosenman, who tried to blend Goldsmith's style with his own. He would soon win an Oscar for his own work on Barry Lyndon, and later would score classics such as Star Trek IV, RoboCop 2, and the Epcot ride Body Wars. Anyway, the production began in February 1969, about a year after the first film premiered, with a lower budget of $5 million, which was then cut in half because Fox had several underperforming films around that time, one of which, Hello Dolly, had many of its sets redressed for this film. The film opened May 26, 1970, and although the critical reception was mixed, the film was a runaway success, and a sequel that was already being planned was rushed into production. See how that works out. The box office was 19 million, falling short of the original's 33 million, but it cost less, so yay, the studio executives were right. We'll see if their fortunes continue into the future, ... Anyway, the aforementioned Ted Post was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1918, and his first job was working as an usher at Lowe's Pitkin Theater. He later planned to be an actor, but ended up directing live theater, but also, as was the custom at the time, he fought in World War II in the U.S. Army's Special Services Division. Later, beginning in the 50s, he began a long career directing mostly television, some film, including 4 episodes of The Twilight Zone, one of which you've talked about, Matt, and 3 of which you haven't. Future Cop, Night Kill, and Do Not Fold, Spindle, or Mutilate. He mostly retired after the 1990s and passed away in 2013 at the age of 95. This is his only visit to the Planet of the Apes. Writer Paul Dane was born in 1912 in Manchester, England. He began his career as a film critic and then, you guessed it, fought in World War II. Then later, when his screenwriting career began, he focused on espionage films, including Goldfinger, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, and The Deadly Affair. He will be back to write scripts for the next 3 Planet of the Apes films, after which he wrote the script for 1974's Murder on the Orient Express. Sadly, that was one of his last credits as he died in 1976 of lung cancer at the age of 63. Of course, we have Charlton Heston, Kim Hunter, Linda Harrison, and Maurice Evans returning from the first film as Taylor, Zira, Nova, and Zaius, respectively. As mentioned earlier, the first billed cast member is James Franciscus as John Brent. He was born in Missouri, 1934, and graduated magna cum laude from Yale in 1957 with a double major in English and theater. He mostly worked in television and was usually cast as a doctor or lawyer, so he's glad to switch it up and wear a more minimal costume for this film, which is his only appearance in an Apes production, as you might guess from how the film went. Aside from this, you can also catch him in the Twilight Zone episode Judgment Night, also The 500-Pound Jerk, One of My Wives is Missing, and Secrets of Three Hungry Wives. He passed in 1991 at the tragically young age of 57 from emphysema. I almost said at the age of 1957. There's a lot of 19s. As Mendez, we have Paul Richards. He was born in 1924 in Hollywood, California. That's right, he started right there. He had a master's degree of theater arts from UCLA, and he was the first character on Hawaii Five-0 who was the subject of Book 'em Dano. That's to say that Dano booked him first. You can also see him in Night Gallery, I Escaped from Devil's Island, and Savage Justice. He passed away in 1974 at the tragically young age of 50. Victor Buono stars as Fat Man. He was born in 1938 and made a name for himself on the screen for hamming it up and being larger than life. Seriously, his IMDb biography is just full of jabs, which is in poor taste because he died of a heart attack in 1982 at the age of 43. Before that, though, he had a long career in television and film. You can see him in Up Your Teddy Bear, Super Train, Fantasy Island, The Flying Nun, as well as 2 episodes of Night Gallery, and Con. There was a TV series 1975 that was called Con! Anyway, as Ursus, we have James Gregory. Born in New York in 1911, he gave up stockbroking for a career on Broadway and racked up nearly 200 credits in his 75-year career. You can see him in Star Trek, Kolchak the Night Stalker, The Love Boat, Quick Before It Melts, and also Night Gallery. He retired in the 80s, but died at the ripe age of 90 in 2002. Natalie Trundy, who you may remember from previous trivia, appears as Albina. She was born Natalie Campagna in Boston in 1940. A car accident in 1950 slowed her career down as a child actor, but she began acting on screen at age 15 in the Monte Carlo story. Arthur P. Jacobs, producer of The Planet of the Apes, began representing her at the time and would eventually become her second husband in 1968. We can ignore how creepy that is because she had a first husband first.
Ugh.
Natalie would appear in the Twilight Zone episode Valley of the Shadow, as well as Espionage Target U. That's Target U. And The Felony Squad. But most importantly for us,
They're
she will
targeting
play...
my colon.
Yes. She will play different roles in the 3rd and then 4th and 5th Apes movies. That's 2 roles, if you're keeping track. Her last on-screen credit was Quincy Emmy, and she passed away in 2019 at the age of 79. Finally, as Cornelius, filling in for Roddy McDowell, we have David Watson. Born in 1940 in London, he was a mostly TV actor, appearing mostly in various genre works. You can see him in The Bionic Woman, The Time Tunnel, The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., and Petticoat Junction. He passed away at the age of 74 in 2014. I feel like I just went through like birth and death a whole lot in this. Anyway.
Well, it is an
That's
old
how
movie.
lives go.
It's true, everyone's dead. Anyway. Especially in this movie.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna mention Don Pedro Colley, the guy who plays Negro, because they couldn't think of a better role for him.
I honestly left that out because of that.
Okay, well, the
No,
only
that
reason I
makes me
bring
a
it up
bad
is
person, I guess.
Batman
no,
wasn't
no,
bad
no. The
enough,
only
I
reason I
guess.
bring it up is because he's in my favorite zombie movie of all time, Sugar Hill, which is also known as Sugar Hill Zombies. And he plays Baron Samdi, who's like this voodoo
Oh.
priest guy in the Louisiana woods, and he's the one who Marky Bay uses to raise the dead and get her vengeance when the mob kills her boyfriend. So this would fall under the category of blaxploitation movies, but Sugar Hill is it was really obscure when I got into it, but now I think Prime Video has it. A bunch of places have it. If you really want to see, because this movie doesn't really give him a lot to do. It doesn't even give him a name that
Yeah.
isn't shitty. Kind of like Fat Guy or whoever this was.
Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fat Man. And so, yeah, if you really want to see what that guy can do, I mean, it is amazing, amazing performance.
I know of the movie, but I haven't seen it. But yeah, it was
You'll
hard
love it.
kind of sorting out. I bet I will. It was hard sorting out the guest roles because I think they kind of interspersed the humans, but none of the humans said who they were. So,
Yeah.
and none of the apes really did either, except Ursus
No.
for the most part.
They might have said their names, but it was in ping form, like boop, right?
Okay, yeah, that doesn't. I don't read ping, but you know.
That's
Different.
right. That's right. But when they're first talking, everything's a beep and a buzz or whatever.
I bet one of them was like, "I'm not wearing underwear."
One
No
of
one
them
will
had to
believe
say,
you. No one will believe you
"Your
if you tell
Earth
them.
years."
They're probably just rocking the robes, right? It's a
Yeah,
future, man.
I'm just thinking that give people psychic powers, they're gonna say like messed up stuff, and then they'll be like, no one would believe you.
Mm.
They have no inner filter, right? So it's like everything's inner, so you hear every single thought. Like, I wonder if anyone
Yeah,
can smell that.
that would be so awful. As somebody with ADHD, if somebody could read my mind, they would just
Right?
lose it. They would not be able to function.
They would have never made it to the big red button.
Mark, give a
No.
tale for us of this movie.
Yep. Some years after Taylor Some
Taylor.
years after Taylor and Nova ride off into the sunset, astronaut Brent arrives to investigate the disappearance of Taylor's spaceship. He meets Nova and follows her to this ape city where he sees a guerrilla expedition about to set off to kill the humans. He follows Taylor and finds an underground city of psychic maniacs who worship the bomb. The apes arrive, all hell breaks loose, and an insignificant little planet ends. Matthew Comagist, September 6th, 2022.
Oh, you did go and steal my thing.
Yes.
Woo!
Okay.
That's
Yep, yep.
great.
You gotta write the
Hey,
Conquest one though. Yeah.
I credited you at least.
Yes, you did. I didn't recognize it either. So
It's funny. I mean, I don't remember what I said on the podcast last week
right,
or
right,
last night.
exactly. So yeah, favorite versus best. I mean, the best is the first. Favorite, obviously, this and Conquest are the ones that usually vie in my mind for my favorite Apes
Dude,
movie.
I'm a fan of Escape. I really thought Escape was like heavy.
Well, they're all good, but yeah, I just like the whackness of this movie, and
Mhm.
Conquest is also pretty whack. So I like a certain whackness in my ape. Like this one, the first 30 minutes is like it's like rushing you through like the first Planet of the Apes movie again. Why did I write some years? It seems like it was the next week when Brent shows up. That must have been something on Wiki that said that, but
Yeah, like as soon as Taylor's horse rides off, Brent's like, bam.
that's what, yeah, that's how I always watch the movie. So something must have thrown me off the case of that. But yeah, the first 30 minutes is just like it's like when you go to one of those, haunts or something and they have a guy that's like rushing you through the rooms too quickly so you don't get to see anything really. It's like
Right.
it's one of those.
That's a good
Don't
way
pay
to describe
attention to how the apes don't look as good this time. Quickly,
Right.
quickly.
Yeah, quickly,
Oh,
quickly, get through it, get through it. Well, I mean, all the speaking apes work. My Santa Claus isn't real moment was when I probably saw this movie 20 times before I realized that wasn't Roddy McDowall. So, I
hmm.
mean, he gets three lines anyway, so there's not much to discern there. But
That's why it's not him. Yeah.
It feels really, a lot of things feel really obvious watching this closely after rewatching the first one. One of which there's a major plot hole, which is that Taylor knew that they were basically going so far forward in time that everyone would be dead, but then Brent shows up and is like, "Where's Taylor? What's happening? Why are we in the future?" It's like it's just an insane plot hole.
well,
So
the other
I cannot
astronauts
think about
in the
that.
first one, they're like surprised how far in the future they were, you
Yeah,
know?
they didn't. It's like yeah, they didn't know they were going whatever 1,000 years in the future, but they definitely shouldn't have been surprised that everyone was dead
Hmm.
because they knew they were going like 70 years or 100 something years. Like when they are going into cryostasis in the first movie, theoretically everyone should already be dead.
Yeah. Um, and the first 10 minutes or when you see Brent at the ship crash, I was like, wow, it did feel even more Twilight Zoney than the first one. It's opening. I mean, this one didn't have Rod Serling involvement at all, but you know, the ship crashed, the captain's dying. That happens like four different Twilight Zones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's why I
mean,
like that moment where he's like, my wife, my kid, every dog any of them will ever have, all but my turtle are dead.
and then he says, "And me."
Yep.
Well, he's got some mute idiot descendants somewhere
It's a
out there,
good
I think.
dramatic moment,
You,
like a Twilight Zone type monologue.
these movies, they have to kill off the other astronauts to focus on the main guy for whatever reason. I guess that works better in like a dramatic um, setting. Anyway, it does definitely feel like this is a TV guy, but the music is great. I guess I it's weird that I had forgotten how little of this is the mutants. It was like 25 minutes at the end, which is weird. I think in my brain that was half of it or more.
At the same time, though, this probably is the ape movie where you see the fewest or the least screen time of apes. You see fewer apes in the next one, but as far as screen time, this must be the one with the smallest
Yeah,
amount of ape
it
screen
is.
time.
It
Yeah.
has to be. Yeah, because
Yep.
it's a lot of time is spent with the humans and humanoids.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering why. I guess that's just the thinking of the late '60s. Like, if we wait longer than a year, everyone will forget about this and never see the sequel. Is that the line of thinking? Because it doesn't
They're
make
just
sense.
being
Like, if
cheap.
I think this is studio dysfunction, plain and simple, because it's like Planet of the Apes was a huge success. They knew they wanted to do a sequel. They rushed it. If they'd waited longer, they could have probably gotten Rod Serling and the originals director and the composer and Roddy McDowell. They could have gotten. It seems like everyone was probably on board for returning if they just had
except for
waited
Heston.
longer. But they're like, no, we have to put this in production right now. And it has to cost half as much because we blew money on Hello Dolly or whatever. Which I don't want to crap on Hello Dolly. That's actually a pretty fun movie. But
And that
um,
just
Well,
keeps
it was the
happening. They keep rushing these things out because it's 71, 72, 73 TV,
yeah.
right?
Well, it was the
yeah,
times too. You got to think about what's happening. Like this is a kids movie basically. But what was happening in American film around the same time, was why their big movies were tanking because people, the American public was shifting at the time to these auteur-driven movies and smaller budget movies. And so people just weren't seeing this.
I think it's kind of that they look at genre movies as you put a little bit of money into it and it makes a lot of money, so let's do that. And maybe I guess probably what Scream was probably the turnaround where they're like, oh, we need to put a lot of money into these so they're good because everyone likes them.
Yeah,
Because that
they had the
was
money to do it. Yeah.
well, it's like they've always had the money to do it. They could have just not made those other movies and just put they could have just put, you know, 5, 6, 7 million into this and it
Mhm.
would have and waited for the personnel and then it could have been every bit as good as the first movie. It, it's it's
Well, it would have
it's
been a completely different
finance.
movie. You might not gotten mutants
Maybe.
that way, you know?
Yeah, maybe not. I do love a big swing.
Yeah. I mean,
Especially they're just they rejected Pure Bull script, which sounds like that sounds more like one of the sequels they're doing now, where a lot of the sequels I like the sequels they're doing now, but a lot of them are just the apes make a stand against the humans, and then the humans make a stand against the apes. It's just sort of a sometimes straightforward war movie, and they're done really well, but if they'd put some crazy swing like this into one of them, I would have liked it better.
I think that's part of, I mean, the appeal of these just being like big, dumb monkey suits and crazy matte paintings in this. I mean, you just like it gets weirder by not by design. It becomes weirder just because it has to, because you're dealing with, furry materials,
Well,
fuzzy
also
logic.
if you dissect it a little further, which I'm not really sure if this was intentional, but remember how guns were treated in the first movie? I was sort of like, these are weapons of man, don't touch them. And now Dr. Zaius, who is this like really annoying, pious, like preacher guy in the first film, is just rolling around with these gorillas who are just like, oh, I don't care about your god. I'm gonna shoot your god who's a bomb with this machine gun. They're just like shooting people. It doesn't matter. They don't care about anything. It really is a great
Well, we really do get
commentary on
more.
what religious people will do to get power. It's just like, yeah, we'll hang out with these gorillas. Why not? Who cares?
Yeah, we don't get much
Sure.
gorilla time in the first movie. I mean, they're on the hunt,
Oh,
right? And
yeah.
they're the stormtroopers, I guess, but that's about it. The first movie's all orangutan and chimpanzee, where Ursa, or how am I saying his name right? The general, and this
Versus.
one, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's the big add to this movie, I guess, character wise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and they could have gone to that more really, but I guess they did go into it kind of a lot, but
Mm.
um, yeah, they explore that maybe more in the newer films. I think the most recent one does have a really cool like sort of positive gorilla guru king, which is fun, but you know, um, yes, that to me is very interesting and worthy of exploration. You get a few really good like looks out of Zaius where he's kind of like, what's going on, man? And the end of the film, where it's basically a conversation between Taylor and Zaius, makes the end of that Simpsons bit a lot funnier.
Well, yeah, yeah, Zaius was right all along, wasn't he? That's the main point about Taylor.
Yeah, but
He said you're
but
going to end
also
everything, and he does.
imagine if Cornelius and Zira had been there instead of him, then he might not have just been like, "Screw you, I'm gonna blow up the entire Earth."
Then you wouldn't have another sequel, would you?
I was gonna say they wanted to be in the sequel. They're like, peace, we're fixing this ship.
Yeah,
We're out of here.
Which ship
I
did they fix? The one underwater or the one smashed up? Both of them, or maybe they combined the two. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say they may have robbed parts off of one, but they got out whatever it was, right? They just in time.
Right, right,
Plus,
right.
see my
And
secret shame is I've only seen parts of the third and I haven't seen fourth or fifth at all. So
well,
that
you'll have
those will be a
some
new.
exciting waters to dive into.
yeah.
I remember the third being pretty fun, what I did see of it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's
they're all good. Even the fifth one. The fifth one is the one where it had like a $5 budget. Like they have an
oh God,
explosion
yeah.
and they just
Battle.
shoot it from 10 different direct. It's one explosion they shot from 10 different directions. They just use that for every explosion.
You
Oh
got Paul
God.
Williams in it though.
Sorry.
Little Paul Williams. It's cute.
No, I like the fifth one. I mean, I like all these movies, but the fifth one is definitely the one where you start
It's
to
the
feel the,
cheapest. Oh God.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it feels the cheapest by far,
Yeah.
because Conquest gets by just by using actual buildings that look weird. That
Hmm.
feels like production, even though it's not. Um, this one seems, even though I guess they already had the Ape City, so they didn't have to pay for that. They already basically knew how to do the costumes and the makeup, so they didn't have to do that. So, and they borrowed Hello Dolly
Ooh.
sets for New York. That's
Yes.
insane. Okay.
Yes, yes, all of that's hella dolly. Yeah, Battle for the Planet of the Apes has like a $1.7 million budget, which is
That sounds like
crazy.
more than I thought it was.
It made like six times its budget back,
Yeah.
which is just yeah, that's just they
Well, these
don't
movies
care. The
rocked the
studio doesn't
law of
care.
diminishing returns. They were like riding the wave till it ended, right?
Yeah.
The
And there wasn't a lot of
studio is
competition.
bad. I'm just gonna say the studio is bad, and these people, the people making these, did not appreciate what they had. Oh, Conquest also had a one point like the same budget and
Right.
made slightly more.
But they were using the futurist brutalist
Mhm.
architecture for production to look like production in that movie.
Yeah.
Um so what's the best destroyed Earth? This has definitely got to be in the running when we get to underground weird New York.
Mm,
Because Mad
that-
Max, the one thing Mad Max movies never do is show you anything actual. I think Thunderdome gives you a glimpse or something, but
This one's a
well,
bunch of map paintings mostly, isn't it?
yeah.
yeah,
They look at a drawing and like, oh God, the was it like the library?
Right, right. And it's
Things
like
like
half
that. It's like,
buried and it doesn't make sense.
yo,
How would a nuclear destruction you still see the city on top kind of like logically I've never been able to work it out. Like what's going on here? It doesn't make sense to me.
so cheap, dude. That's what it is. It's just
yeah, yeah. The whole thing is like even there was something in the trivia where even though Ted Post was basically a TV director, he found it very challenging to work with this budget. That should tell you a lot.
Like
That
if there's like a nuclear
I
avalanche that somehow makes the Adirondacks fall into New York City, but there's still space underneath. Did they dig that out? I'm going to think about this.
I think this is just, you know, a very, very small part of New York. I would assume most of it's collapsed.
No, they walk like long distances, I think. I think some of these places aren't they like at the cathedral? That's like downtown, right? And then
The
Grand Central
less
I
you
don't.
know
Station
about New
is like
York,
midtown.
the more you will enjoy
There
this.
you go. I know
They
very
walk
little.
like several miles underground.
Yeah, no,
Very little.
it was so the logistics don't match up, but average people. Like I work with a guy, our senior reporter, he's definitely in his 60s, and he was like the age of the kids going to see this stuff. He was a huge fan of the first one, and he's told me before, because he likes the Apes movies too. We always talk about the new ones, but we came up with being able to watch these one after the other on TV, but he was the generation where, they had to wait till the next one came out, and he said that this is the one. He said everybody, him and his friends hated this one. They didn't like that ending, but also, yeah, they could tell it was cheaper. And, it was just like the thing with the bomb people, they didn't dig any of that. They wanted to see more apes.
They didn't
So
like that music.
he
I
whenever we
love the
talk about
bomb
it,
hymnals.
yeah,
I mean,
I think maybe now he might appreciate it more, but I don't think he goes back and looks at them like how I do.
I know I mentioned this last time we did when I did a podcast about this movie, but I remember in church when I was a kid they switched the hymn books or whatever, and
with
my
Inagata Davida.
yeah. But anyway, the songs are like different. They weren't like the traditional ones you'd hear in an Episcopal church. So my dad just started saying that all of them sounded like hymns to the bomb. So I actually experienced a lot of time as a kid in church feeling like we were singing bomb hymns. So that was fun.
It was an actual hymn that the composer rewrote, so it wasn't out of nowhere. That was an actual that was an actual hymn, and
Oh,
I'm
that dash is one of my dreams. Okay.
sorry.
More Santa Claus death for me.
That bomb was pretty dope, all solid gold like that, man. That would make a
Yeah.
nice chain if you had it. People are like, is that a bullet? And you're like, no, man, it's the bomb.
It's the
Right.
doomsday
Beneath the Planet
device.
Apes
It's
bomb right here.
tiny.
God, I hope that
Cut.
someday mankind comes together and makes a solid gold bomb, nuclear bomb.
Who thought like when it falls down that it wouldn't work no more? Do y'all think that when it fell down?
I
Bombs
didn't
are
really
supposed
think
to
it was
fall down.
gonna
You drop
work.
them from planes.
Like
Well,
laying on its
yeah,
side?
I hate to well actually you, but it's like the bombs that the U.S. dropped on Japan. There was a big coordinated effort where they had to like detonate it before it hit the ground because if it had hit the ground, it wouldn't have killed nearly as many people.
Right.
It was really important for it to kill the most people.
Airburst versus ground burst. I learned about that from 50s educational films.
Shit, I know
Oh,
about Starburst.
oh, I guess just according to this trivia that I missed, Rod Serling is the one who came up with the idea of underground ruins and a leftover atomic bomb.
Yeah, Rod.
Okay. So
So there you
he
go.
chimed in
Of
a bit.
course. That
That's
makes
right.
more sense than anything else in the trivia, really, if you think about it. How Twilight Zone is that? That's what your podcast should be called.
Yeah. Well, I know I know what's the better burnt out New York, which unfortunately no longer exists. That's the Confrontation ride, right? And then you get to meet King Kong and he sells like
Oh
bananas.
man, yeah. That was the best. Man, yeah, you're so right.
And then, even in the line and stuff, I guess that the point of that is you get to like experience it. You got to be in there, which adds to the fun. But
Yeah.
I easily drew a line between that and Beneath the Planet of the Apes. I guess that's, you tie them together and you get a weird obsession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would have been better if Kong had showed up.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, they have lots of monkeys in here. The statue of the
Different studio.
lawgiver is Kong size.
No, the thing is that in the 70s, if you did that in the 70s, people would be like, "That's stupid." And then if you did it now, people would be like, "Of course that happens. Why
Well,
wouldn't it?"
now would be fan service, right?
No, it would be something that just happened because it always, it would just be something that happened. Like
Hmm.
when Freddy versus Jason was first teased, I think 12 years before it came out. Like that was sort of the first time something like that happened. And of course, we all screamed in the movie theater. But
Well, that just happened. That's what we screamed, right?
I screamed, I can't wait to be in my 20s when they finally make this movie.
Hmm.
Is this the one where it wasn't in the first one, was it? When like, oh yeah, no, it is this one because Brent has to make himself look like Taylor at one point, right? Like he's gotta get dressed up in like
He
the
pretty much just does look like Taylor. That weird
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I
casting
mean that's probably why
decisions.
they it's like, man, his teeth, man, they were so white. And I was
Mhm.
like, anyways, he's gotta like he tries to like shield himself so Nova don't see him changing his clothes. It's like,
Yep.
come on, man. How fine was Nova? She
I
was, man.
distracting, yes.
Yeah, man.
Kind
I know that they were busy and stuff, but it would just like it would be funny if he's like, "Oh, whoops, I dropped my loincloth. Let me just pick that up."
Of course, if you took this movie from Nova's perspective, then it's just a story of systematic abuse.
Oh God, yeah.
yeah, she's basically, like they were going to make her. They shot a bunch of scenes in the first film where she was going to be pregnant, and they cut them out because they're like, this is kind of too much like bestiality. So they, I'm surprised they went as far as they did in this one with that, because yeah, just that might not be something they would even worry about in the present time.
Well, she
But
gets to scream
No,
out Taylor in the end, suggesting that she's regaining humanity as we know it, or something, right?
right? That's the only thing she says, though.
It is the only thing she says.
I would
another
have said
thing they probably would do this now, where like a psychic person like died in front of her and then gave her speech psychically
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
That would probably happen.
Like I like Rise. I even like the I don't mind the Franco of it all. But yeah, just in that one, it's like, yeah, the apes aren't really talking. They're just doing sign language. That's no fun. All we get is like
Well,
a no, right? Is that
yeah, the no
Yeah,
is
it
cool
was.
though.
the no is cool,
That
but I like
that part of it
dumb
was the
talking
best.
apes. I
No,
like
that was
Nah, the
the
best was
best
that
because they're all like
fight on the
they're
bridge, man.
yeah, all the everything from the no part to the end of the movie is like the reason for watching that movie. I
no,
don't
I
care
love
Yeah,
that movie.
watching.
It's great. I
Yeah.
want dumb talk. I want a conversation with Dr. Zaius and General Ursus. I
Oh,
want that in
you
my
mean
movie.
right.
dumb as in you mean like silly. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like I thought you meant dumb as in you wanted the apes to not be intelligent. I'm like, what?
Oh no no
Huh?
no 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 no! I want them to be
Okay.
more. I want them to be talkative. I want them to speak in Shakespearean tones. That's what I want from my apes.
Yeah.
The more
Well, I think
pretentious sounding the ape is, the better.
I think we'll get there within the next 10 years in the new franchise.
Yeah, it's
This
such
is
a
also the one where the lawgiver like just bleeds, right? Did
well,
they say why it was
the
bleeding?
statue of the
Statue,
lawgiver.
right?
It's
It's
it's an
huge.
illusion.
Oh, that's right.
Which
Yeah, because they go like it's not really there or whatever. It was just there to distract them. But man,
well, it's
the
interesting
bleeding
because
statue,
Dr.
that was
Zaius,
rad.
yeah, it was super cool. That scene was awesome, but also it was very interesting that Dr. Zaius of all people has to play the role of skeptic. Like it's not, but
Yeah.
that's how a
No,
That's
lot of
because the
religious
gorillas
people
are dumb.
are.
That's the point of the
Also,
gorillas. They're dumb, right?
Also, yeah, it's pretty easy for a religious person to point to something else and be like, that religious thing is stupid and not real at all.
Whereas mine.
Yeah,
Oh, and
mine
then I
is
have in my notes
cool.
here, Nova is kind of a dumb girl, pun 50% intended.
Hmm.
Okay,
I
I'll
mean, the
allow it.
movie's about men mostly, I mean, it's, I think the fact that they had a ape woman that was central was like one of the only progressive things about it until they start to get into the racism allegory. Like, I feel like that's heaviest in Escape, which is probably one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I like it. There's a full out, like, police versus apes thing where they're beating them
It's
up.
yeah, with the visions and stuff. I guess this one like kind of doubles down on like the weird avant-garde filmmaking. The first one has a little
Yeah.
more of new Hollywood feel, like kind of
Yeah.
very wide, austere shots. Where this one is
Well,
just is weird.
it's Franklin Schaffner who was, at that point a veteran. He was so
Yeah,
far
he's
ahead of
not
his
new
time,
Hollywood, but he did have a few. I mean,
but
in
he
the Jerry
was,
Goldsmith and all that in the
yeah,
first one, like that's the
he was,
classy weird. This one is like low grade avant-garde, which is sometimes more fun.
yeah. I believe Ted Post was younger than Schaffner, but Schaffner was like, he was busy winning Academy Awards with Patton at the time. So
Yeah, he had better
yeah,
things to
he
do than this, I
he.
guess. Not for
I
me, I
mean,
mean, but
don't get me wrong. If Patton had been like the General Ursus from this, if Patton had been about the gorillas from this film, and it was about like the gorilla General Patton who was talking about how his life doing gorilla stuff,
Yeah.
definitely would be better.
so you wanted
Man.
Patent of the Apes. They could have done a
Yeah,
crossover
why
movie.
not?
Okay.
Go straight there. Go straight to Patton of the Apes, second movie. Imagine that. You know but that's so far in the future where studios are taking being like, oh, actually, people love genre films, so let's make prestige genre films. That was so far in the. I guess Star Wars kind of
Oh, that changed
started that.
everything.
Yeah.
I've said before, and I can't remember which podcast it was, um, just talking about sci-fi pre-Star Wars and post-Star Wars. I mean, it's just, that changed everything. But oh, I meant to ask, did you think when they take their faces off, it's like a mask and the real face underneath did you think that looked like Dr. Phibes? That
Oh,
Vincent
hell
Yep.
Price
yeah.
did?
Sure did.
Yeah, I
I
was
I
like,
didn't.
I wanted to look up when Phibes was out, just to see like who did it first.
I think Vibes was 69.
Yeah, Phibes was first. I didn't see Dr. Phibes until many years after I saw this, but when I found out about Dr. Phibes, I was like, hell yeah, I need to see it. That was one of the things where I saw the trailer and immediately had to watch it.
Hmm.
71.
Oh, okay. So it's after. Oh, crazy. Okay. So we have to
Well,
give it to the apes.
hmm,
What do
yeah.
you know?
Ah,
Granted, that movie is extremely different than this movie, but so we're not gonna
really?
draw the line too.
Explain.
Ugh. I can't remember Strikes Again. I know I've seen it at least once, but I've seen the first fives like probably a dozen times. That was another one where I'd have
um,
it taped off TV on video and watched a lot, like this
They
one.
bleed together for
it's
me too because I
it's
have the DVD I have has both.
Mm.
it's unfortunately kind of underwhelming because it's a lot of you're kind of hanging out with Dr. Phibes while he goes on an adventure, which is not as fun as the thing where the first movie does, where he's kind of this presence kind of in the background,
Yeah.
which works much better for horror stuff. But it's not bad. It's among sequels, it's as
Vincent
good as
Price.
this probably. Yeah.
Anyway, freaky mutants of the early 70s just look like this. That's how it works, I guess.
Yes.
They wear robes, they have veiny, weird faces.
I gotta say, the glow up they gave to Taylor is pretty. When he showed up, he was looking pretty snazzy.
Oh God, yeah, that Leisure's dude. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
disco ready with that thing.
And then somehow he didn't know about the bomb or any of that
Maybe
stuff.
if Brent had been there for more than 5 minutes, he'd get a leisure suit too, and they could,
Yeah. But can you imagine though being in the theater, having seen the first Planet of the Apes and being like a huge fan of it? That scene where this whole ending where it's like blood out, Taylor gets it, then Blaine, Brent gets it, and they're like full of holes. Like it's close up, you see that Brent's got like one right in his forehead.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
no
It's
doubting he's
like
dead.
it gets kind of brutal like that, and and also they're dealing with heavy stuff like with the bomb and everything. Like, and Taylor's the one who pushes it, right? Like hits the
Yeah,
red
yeah, yeah,
button.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Charlton
Yes.
Heston gets to end the
Um.
world. It's great.
Why did
Yes. I think this is the whole thing where again they rejected Planet of the Men because they're like it's not shocking enough. The shot, like everybody was like it needs to be shocking, so they took the shock and kind of drew it out, which I think works very well in this. Like, definitely execution could have been a little better, but the the shock is there, man. There's a lot of shock at the
because
end.
you think they were trying to outdo that classic ending of the first Apes with the Statue of Liberty?
That's
Like
what
Yeah,
they're
I
trying
every
to
ape
believe.
do.
movie has to try and do, or at least they did until the
Uh,
more recent ones.
yeah,
Yeah. Or that they were like, they won't see this coming. Everybody dies.
yeah.
Hey, why is this movie rated G?
Oh, I mean, the first one is also rated G.
Yeah, but this one again, I'm thinking
That's
with
like
the
gunshots in it.
headshot.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
fine.
gory
Don't worry
violence.
about it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's G.
So I feel like a headshot would push you up to PG pretty instantly.
I mean, remember
Not after
Logan's
the
Run
Wild
had,
Bunch.
yeah, Logan's Run had no headshots at all. It was PG just for boobs,
Right, right. So
and it
well,
had a
Well,
lot
that's
of
it had some
boobs.
really
did
the
have a
more
little
dangerous
blood.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it had some blood, but most, mostly not that violent, but they're,
This one almost has boobs. I mean, Linda Hamilton is not running around very much.
It
Um,
should have.
but
and I've got the note here. What's with togas and the apes on it? Let's see some gorilla dick. Um,
well, yeah, it's
I
it's
didn't read
very
your notes this time. That's great.
it's very amusing watching them in the sauna, and it seems like they're maybe like larger than they are other times, like because they have to wear big,
right, I gotta
giant
wear a
like
full
ape
body.
suits to the
I'm gonna need to
sauna.
mute my.
He muted himself. Okay. Well, if you're going on video, we'll see what happens to him in the end. Um,
Mm, well, uh, let's
let's
see.
see. I have that Bren is
Okay,
not
I'm sorry, man.
he's recovered. That's
I didn't
fine.
want to take up the.
Oh, yeah,
I
you
should
wouldn't
have
like
done it when you
Nova
said
so
ape
much.
dick.
Yeah. You wouldn't like Nova so much if you knew what she smelled like. Okay.
Mm,
I still would.
Hmm.
Remember
Yeah.
that? Oh, we didn't talk about when Brent was like being manipulated um and is like forcing him to choke her like to try to kill her and stuff.
Yeah, that's
oh
what I was saying.
yeah,
From her perspective, this is a horror movie.
Yeah.
that's a whole thing where they keep saying we don't hurt anyone, we just make people hurt each other. It's like
Yeah.
this constant blame shifting that I don't think that they meant this is like look at these terrible hypocrites, but it comes across like
Well, Charles
God,
Manson
you
is
were
making
the
an excuse
worst.
about the same time, right?
Yeah, that's
He
the
didn't,
thing, man. I'm just thinking about all the stuff that was going on
I mean,
culturally at the time.
there's influencing people like Charles Manson did, and there is like literally forcing people with psychic power, you with your psychic powers to hurt people is pretty direct. It's
Jim
like
Jones didn't pour the Kool-Aid down people's throats. They
he
drank it
actually did.
themselves. Okay.
No, he actually did. There were a lot of people where somebody put like trained a gun on them and made them drink it.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's a
That did
good thing
happen.
they weren't scanners.
Well, I was just saying that in my notes, it's like there is a lot of stuff where they say these are weapons of peace, and then they're literally doing torture, which is war crimes. They're doing war crimes, saying this is peaceful, this is not guns,
Well, they have
That
no
was the part where
oversight.
because
that was
our
the part where my
perspective has
kid walked
shifted.
in when I was watching the last time, and she was like, "What? That didn't even make sense." And she was like 9.
Yeah, that is not that does has not aged well, along with the part where they do all these domestic violence jokes where Zira is sort of like, oh, Cornelius had to hit me and he's gonna have
Yeah,
to
that
hit
was
me again.
weird.
That was really messed up. I
I
guess
mean,
you're supposed to be like, oh, it's apes. Who cares if they hit each other? But it's no, it doesn't work.
They
even
just wanted you
1970,
to
that feels
infer that
weird.
that's where they were at. Like that's how apes treat their ladies.
I think that's just how the studio executives treat their wives, mistresses, other mistresses, secretaries.
Hmm.
Ape dick.
I'll go ahead and allege all that. I don't care. They're all dead.
You're
Right.
probably right.
Um, why are the mutants wearing masks? If they all look like that, they don't really need the mask, do they? That's just how people look now.
It's sacred. They have to wear the mask except for when they're singing and dying.
Right. Okay.
It's important
Mm-hmm.
to them.
Saves on effects too. They don't have to, make them up as
Yep.
much.
Yep.
Oh, it certainly helps that way for sure.
Yeah. We may have mentioned this is a cheap ass movie.
Yeah, but still, wow, I appreciate someone having a physical mask that they pull off to reveal the weird makeup way more than if it was like CGI that went over their face.
Anyone
or
know if
something
they
like
made a
that.
toy that did that? Like I know there
Ooh.
was merchandising for these movies, all right?
Oh yeah, this was the first big merchandise franchise that kind of predated Star Wars in that way because Star Wars really, had got booster rockets on the merch, but this is kind
Didn't
of
they
the
Does anyone know if they had a Migo where you could pull the Migo's mask off and it had that
ah.
crazy face underneath?
Well, here's one that says what Mendez 26. Yeah, it looks like looks
What's
like yep. It comes with this is sort of a boutique thing that Super
I was
7
about to
made.
say,
But
is
it's
it
one of
from the
those
70s?
but no, but it is like the guy and it comes with a little face that you can put over
Ah,
him. It's the regular face.
Yeah, of course you can get
That's
it
funny.
now, but I'm thinking, could you get it
Yeah.
in the 70s?
I think that's what I was asking about because I remember as a kid seeing that and it kind of freaked me out a little bit when I saw it on TV. You know, those faces were that it was that and that part of the last Starfighter where they're making like the clone of him or whatever, and the kid
Yes.
sees him under there and he just looks like, a
Dude,
human blobfish. And
that messed me up, man. That
yeah.
really upset me as a kid.
Yeah, well
Um,
it's screwy.
that's
Yeah, I
like
don't.
up there with the Thriller video and scariest things I saw as a kid.
That could be a whole other discussion right there.
Yeah.
There's some very cool toys you can get now, but yeah, they don't date from the 70s as far as replay toys. No, that wouldn't be it, would it?
The the Kroger near where I grew up had a VHS player in the middle of the store because they rented videotapes and videotape like VCRs because not everybody had a VCR. And sometimes they would just have the Thriller video on repeat. And then other times they would have the video of Stevie Wonder singing Happy Birthday to Martin Luther King on it with like everybody. So it was like the good or the evil tape in the
Oh my God.
store alternating, which
Yeah,
is very funny.
that's dumb. Because you'd want to put on a longer playing movie. So you
I
wouldn't
think
have to change the tape as much.
it was like a loop, like it wouldn't. I don't, or maybe it was set to. You know what? I think it was set to just auto rewind and start over because some of those players would do that. They
Gotcha.
would
Okay.
it could just rewind and go back and start itself. It was like locked to itself.
Automation. Hey,
Yeah, it's the future, man. It's the future.
I think we could throw our Space 1999 season one question on this and figure out how much of it is sci-fi fun and how much of it is existential dread.
Oh, well, I mean,
World ends.
80% dread.
Yeah. What if the world didn't end at the end? Would that change your score?
Well, how the hell does it end if the world does? It's almost like does everybody just shoot each other and then you just zoom out while they're all just lying around dead?
Obviously, you
That's
rewrite the last 3 minutes of the movie a little bit more than just that, I guess. But
I think Dr. Zaius is the only one alive, and he's just like, "Damn you all to hell," and then walks off.
sure. Oh, that would have been an unexpected ending. That would mirror the first. Not a bad idea. Or him and
Yeah,
Taylor
yeah.
walk off into the sunset together. Isn't that the
Or he
Simpsons
breaks
ending?
his glasses and he can't read anything.
Yeah.
They like huddle behind a wall and they're hugging. They're like, "Oh, thinking the bomb's gonna go off," and then it doesn't. And then it cuts to the two of them in a sauna smoking cigars.
No, because
That's
I
my
agree
end.
with your 80-20, but I'm like, how much? Because I'm like, well, the mutants and the underground
Yeah,
universe, that's still a
that's
lot, but I'd probably notch it down to like, 70 if the world didn't end, That would
the
leave a
thing
little
for
more
me.
fun.
The thing for me is that, well, obviously, ape society is going downhill very quickly because it's gone from the annoying religious society with like apes with like poking people with spears to just gorillas riding around shooting with machine guns. So that itself is upsetting.
Right. Uh, Andrew, how do you feel about the existential dread levels versus the sci-fi fun?
Yeah, I'm with you, man, because people went into this movie knowing that it's Earth, you know? So that already knocks it down a little bit because, like, seeing the Statue of Liberty in this one is not a big shock because they're like, oh, okay, so it's Earth and Earth got screwed up, right? So to a degree, that stuff's not going to hit that same kind of way. So I would say, even with the ending, I would say it's more like 70.
Okay. More
Yeah.
more important is how
Um.
many. Oh, Mark, go ahead.
Does anyone remember the part where Brent finds out that it's Earth? Because I feel like I wasn't paying attention when he figured it out. Or did he ever figure it out? Or was it just sort of a thing where he figures out all the way, doesn't say anything
I
Nah,
was
about
gonna
he
it?
say once he's in New York City, I think he's got it worked out.
Yeah, because he has a moment where, and I don't remember what it is that he sees, but something reminds him like,
He's like, I used to use this train station like daily or
like
Yeah.
something.
yeah, it's like he used to live there or something like nearby or
Yeah.
something like that, and it hits him all kind of at once when he realizes where they were at,
Yeah,
you
I guess
know.
up to that point he doesn't know. So,
He's like, hey,
So
that
he's
was
kind of
nowhere
just like,
geographically near here.
so he's just like, oh, I used to use this train station.
right.
That's almost like his reaction is just like, oh, it's Earth.
Well, he's a lot more chill about it than Taylor, then, isn't he? He doesn't just
Woody.
start
Yeah.
bashing the ground.
Well,
Yeah.
Taylor's all like hopped up from all the hostages he just took and stuff.
Yeah.
He's very excited. He's all like amped up. He took the woman and took the guns and took the horses.
Found some cocaine in those ruins.
Yeah. Damn this cocaine to hell.
Anyway, the more important question for these are how many bananas does this movie get from 0 bananas to 7 bananas? Andrew, you have to answer that first. How many bananas
Oh
for Beneath the Planet
man,
of the
a
Apes?
seven banana movie is probably, I would say Escape is the seven banana. So I'm gonna go like four on this one.
Only four
Uh,
bananas. Okay. See, I
yeah,
think this is
because
hmm,
I mean like it would be easier maybe if like it was a five banana because I have like my favorite and there's five of the movie, you know. But this is just low on the rung because they once they start like following each other, like the next ones go like when you're watching Planet of the Apes and then do this one's almost like a ugh, and the rest all go. You know what I mean? Like for
See,
some reason,
I've
this
got a
one just
7 banana this one because every decision in it is bananas. Every decision in the production of this
okay.
movie
I
is
see what you're
bananas.
saying. Okay,
So no,
yeah,
I
all
made
right.
you answer first because the question doesn't make sense and you just have to answer it how you will. So
Hey, I'm the guest, so whatever, it's clever, you know. But that,
that's
yeah, it's just one of the ones where I love watching the whole thing all the way through, especially when a new Apes is about to come out. I'll like start at the beginning, because they do like figure all that stuff in because they're being made by fans now, fans of those series. So yeah, to me, this one just it's kind of like it takes a long time to do not a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this 5 bananas because it's sort of 2/3. I mean, the first third of the movie is so much sort of recapping, and it's really that Brent is the same guy, and he's not. He looks great. Don't get me wrong. He's in
see again
great shape.
all bizarre decisions, right? Which
Yeah,
I
but he
just I
could have
like
been
this movie
playing
for the
He's
Taylor. He
and
looks so
he's
much
good.
like him.
yeah.
And technically, I mean, technically, he's a better actor than Charlton Heston because he holds back. But Charlton Heston is just a lot more
Well,
fun because
yeah,
he
he
doesn't
chews
hold back.
scenery so much better.
Yeah, he's he's unhinged. But but that's what cost him the Jaws job, didn't it?
I mean, when I was like 6 or 7 years old, this movie did confuse the hell out of me because I'm like, that's because I'd already seen the original, right? I'm like, I also had them on videotape back to back, so I kind of see the first two as like the same movie in my mind a lot, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I see this is a very different movie, but then it takes a while to remember why, which
Right, but
is
if you're a
that's the
fourth grader
problem.
just playing them on repeat back to back, they tend to meld
Yeah.
together eventually.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
and
the
seeing them on TV, it feels like like episodic television too. If you to watch like the marathons, I can remember that.
but yeah, the most memorable thing about this movie is just Matt, the time that you made me watch it. Because you were like, I was like, I don't know. I mean, Andrew, you may or may not know this, but I don't watch a lot of sequels in most cases. I have seen all the Final Destinations. I agree that it's a great series. But in mostly for older stuff, I don't see sequels because I know that they're going to be kind of diminishing returns. But Matt was like, "You got to see this one," and it was really weird. I was like, "I can't believe that this is. I can't believe they did this." So that anything where there's a payoff like this when you're not expecting one is
I mean, I guess
great.
that's what
But
the credit you
uh,
give producer Jacobs. As the returns kept diminishing, the budgets kept diminishing, he just kept swimming upstream as hard as he could, you know?
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, if they make that
we'll
kind of money.
see. But just the thing is that this is probably my fourth time seeing it. It's not. It doesn't hit as hard. It's like really even the ending of the first film, as much as that is the one of the most iconic things that's ever existed, still hits a lot harder than like the bomb stuff does in this movie because of the director being so good at his job. So sometimes the director can elevate stuff. Some
Yeah, there's just like nothing. Like the bomb goes off and that's just it. Bam, credits, right?
yeah.
Wasn't any,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like there are cool things, but it's like they just don't hit as hard as the way that reveal of Statue of Liberty in the first one is done so well that it still gives me chills no matter how many times I've seen it. And
Well, you might like Escape then, because it's the ending's got something to it too. It's not like on
I'm
this
excited.
level, but that's why I'm saying that's probably my favorite one of the old ones because the way it works that in, it doesn't try to top it. It goes this other way that you're like, like
Yeah.
it's more like how a modern movie would do, I think.
Well, and also I do know how I know how Escape starts, and just that would probably make you think, oh, that's the twist, that just that they're even doing this.
The ending
So
is so good.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to all of the our apes
Oh, so y'all are
journeys.
going through the whole series? Is that what
Yep,
this is?
and
Correct.
the whole live action TV series and the animated TV series probably.
Wow.
I
But
don't think
not the
we've
new
decided
stuff. We're not
for
doing the new
certain,
stuff.
Well, you could find a lot of podcasts about
Yeah,
the new ones.
correct. And yeah, and they're
including
just such a different thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And we're chasing Space 1999 with this. So the new stuff doesn't match
yeah.
that vibe. Where apes do
This
the
fits
70s
more
apes
in. I
do.
see what you're saying. Yeah. And I'm glad y'all are doing the animated because I really like the animated.
Yeah, it's because I've never seen the live action series or the animated series, and I'm excited for that too. I kind of pushed this because I was like, hey, did you know there was a series? I didn't know until
Which my
recently.
answer
So,
was yes, but he's getting the
oh.
box, which is really expensive now. I looked, but you can watch the series, except for the first episode you can watch on YouTube, and you can watch the first one on Daily Motion. So you're set.
Someone can watch the series. You can watch it somehow, listeners. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, yeah.
smarter than
It's
those
not.
gorillas.
Yeah, even a gorilla could figure out watching on YouTube.
I
Yep.
got Return to
Yeah,
the Planet of
yeah, there
Apes.
we go. That one is
Yeah.
still relatively accessible.
Yeah, and then this it was right next to it, but behind Planet of Apes, man, I got this for $1.
Oh, good. Yeah, because
Nice.
that's hard to
It's like
find
a
now, I believe.
it's a behind the scenes of I can't remember. Yeah, it's like a 2 hour documentary. It's about the whole series.
Hmm.
I don't know if it
Cool.
was I don't remember. I have the Blu-ray set, I don't know if that's on there or not, but I would think it would be. But that's a good one too.
I
Nice.
guess as we are ending the world here, Andrew, this is late November.
Hmm.
So what up?
Well, in late November, the Gonzoriffic Underground Movie Show premiere will have already happened in Athens, and then the online stream on Sunday, the November 10th, will happen. But our partners in Atlanta, Metropolitan Studios, I am currently, as of this recording, talking to them about scheduling Gonzoriffic in Atlanta. And so I don't have a date for that, but that is a thing that's I want to do yearly, is to have it show at Metro at least one night
Nice.
in
Those of
Atlanta.
us who live in Atlanta and have a crappy car who they don't want to take to Athens, thank you.
Yeah, and
God.
that's part of why I do the streaming one. After 2020, I started to just, like that was our first attempt to do it a live stream, and it worked out great. And a lot of folks who, live out of state or whatever, they like that a lot. And so, and being in the chat with everybody was excited. So we've done that every year since 2020. But we had a really successful premiere screening of Jigsaw over there. Mark, you were there, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
awesome.
okay. Yeah, because I hadn't
Nice,
seen
nice
you in a
place.
minute when we did that. And so
Yeah,
they
I
were real happy
literally.
with
I'm sorry. I had a Kia at the time, which ended up like almost catching on fire. Now
oh
I
yeah.
have a Mazda that is from 2010, and I've become one of those people where every day I start my car, and sometimes the check engine light comes on, and I plug a thing into the car and hit erase codes, and then turn the check engine light code off, the light off. That's where I am
Damn.
right now. Thank you.
Oh right. Man, I wish I would have known about that. Like that would have saved me so much money in the past. Anyways, but
Yeah,
so that's kind of where we are, with
yeah.
that. So hope I don't have a date for it, but hopefully by this time this comes out, there'll be a date, and y'all could go to at Gonzoriffic on Instagram or Threads and get the information on that.
Right, this is how long I've been in
Cool.
Japan. When you said I don't want to drive to Athens, I almost blurred out, "Why don't you just take the train?"
Oh boy. Yeah, if I could go back in time to 1976 using my spaceship and take the train that used to exist, where you could take it to Athens for $5 and it would take like 2 hours.
Mm.
Imagine that. That would be fun. Well, yeah, it's really funny. Like I don't see Kias on the road anymore. You notice, you know? You just
I don't
don't
see
see them
Kias on the
anymore.
road. Hey, I
Yep.
was just talking last week. I've never seen a Tesla on the road. I've never seen one
Oh,
in person.
Damn, it's
because
all over
they
the place here.
yeah, that's what I heard. And then
Yeah.
Japan, you just need. I have not literally. I've never seen one except like on
Maybe you
a
will now
picture
that
on the
his
internet.
Yeah.
stock went up because
Oh
his
yeah,
buddy's getting ready to be the president.
he's not the president of Japan
Yeah,
yet.
that's not gonna yeah, that's not gonna make him better at building cars. Because remember,
I didn't
Cybertruck,
say better.
what is it? Geico won't insure Cybertrucks now or something like that,
Yeah, no.
which is very funny. Like nothing's gonna erase that. But yeah, yeah, he probably will be made like Secretary of the Treasury or something horrible like that. So,
Die in one
you
of
know,
his automatic cars.
yeah,
Um, let's see. As for us, we're podcast 1999. You could hit podcatchers, leave us reviews that are good, I hope. Check out other podcasts we do. I guess just yeah, run it over to Time Enough Podcast where we talk about the Twilight Zone, Films and Filth, where we talk about what IMDb says are really good or really bad movies with the users and some
yeah.
other stuff.
Andrew frequently guests on both of those.
Yeah, but I was jealous, man, when y'all did Crossroads without me.
Oh, it was pretty fun. I wish you could have
Yeah,
been there.
Crossroads is a good one.
Were you coming? You're coming back for Barbed Wire, right?
Barbed Wire's on the list. Damn.
I thought you were on the list for Barbed Wire. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I forgot that that's on the list because I love Barbed Wire. Y'all seen the
Oh
new
hell, I'm calling
Beyonce
you about
video?
that in
Not
about
yet.
3 weeks.
Not yet.
Man, my friend
I'm
of mine went
excited.
as Barbed Wire on Halloween,
Okay, we're
and
about to
then
watch Barbed
Beyonce did it
Wire.
like a few days later.
Yeah, we gotta do it before the end of the year. Okay. Well, that's business. I guess we're finished. Hit the button, Mark.
Damn you, Dr. Zayas.
That's
I
an
love you,
explosion.
Dr. Zayas.
See, that's the thing on Zoom. Zoom's really good at the background noise, but if you try and make an explosion, I was like, did you hear that?
No,
No.
I didn't.
No.
Did you hear when I did it?
You go for it. That works. What's up? Why
Yeah,
don't I
I
get big
leaned into
explosion
it.
noise? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're the host.
Mm.
Oh man, I got
the host, the most
that reminds
bombs.
me. I
Yeah.
have a couple of movies in the Gonzoriffic show this year that have really great placement of farts. And just like in Psycho Vixens, which by the way, man, 20 years ago, that was the
Wild.
screening
Yep.
of Psycho Vixens at the 40 Watt. Because when Flagpole interviewed me, which is in the new issue there, they've got the article. I talk about that. That was my first public screening. It was
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Early December.
Wild.
We got to do earlier mid-December. We have to do barbed wire. Yeah. So that's in the imminent future.
Oh
We
yeah.
just saw the fourth Three Ninjas movie, and Lonnie Anderson is in it, and she's dressed like Barbed Wire in it. Have you seen that before?
Fourth Three Ninja. No, I was on
High noon at
You should see it. It was
Mountain.
really fun.
no,
You'd
I'm
probably
aware
enjoy
of it. I was on, there's this podcast out of Wisconsin that I used to be on a lot because for some reason our movies are really popular there. So I was like an interview guest and then they just started inviting me on. But they did like a series of podcasts that were all like the part threes, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
And so I watched this third Three Ninja movie. But I was aware that there was a fourth, and it's Victor Wong's final movie performance
Yes,
is
he's
in
not
that
in it a
movie.
lot,
And he
unfortunately, and
sounds
he seems
in my
like
notes,
he's
I didn't know that was his final and that he was sick. And I went, Victor Wong sounds drunk.
Oh,
And I
okay,
felt bad
yeah,
for
that's
making that note.
well, Hulk Hogan's in it.
but yeah, Hulk Hogan, Jim Varney, and Lonnie Anderson are
Damn,
are
I'll
like
watch it.
you should watch
Like
it.
High
We
Noon on Magic Mountain or some shit like
High
that.
noon at Magic
we
Mountain.
had fun.
And
We had
then,
Yeah,
fun
okay.
watching.
Mark, I was listening to a podcast last night where someone brought up that the Three Ninjas thing, there is kind of a Hong Kong version, and they were talking about Kung Fu Kids 2. They had not seen one. They were talking about Kung Fu Kids 2. So
Hmm.
maybe
Those are
that's one
very
of the-
violent.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
those
That's why I'm
kids, those are
suggesting
very
it to
violent.
Mark. He should get
Ooh.
you can watch it on YouTube in
Filipino.
shitty quality, I think.
Filipino. That's interesting.
Is it?
Oh,
Wow,
who's
that
the
looks
director on
wild.
those? If they're made in the Philippines, it's got to
Um,
be one of like three people.
um,
Not Eddie Romero, is it?
Malu Sevilla and Richard
Yeah.
Arellano? Arellano?
Yeah.
Huh. Opening theme, Kung Fu Fighting by Rocksteady and Glock 9. That sounds 90s as hell, whatever that is. Oh, it's
Oh.
2008. Anyway,
It's harder to track down than I thought, actually. Okay, here might be one, except it seems to be in tag along or something. Oh yeah, it's in real crap quality. Here, I'll bop this into the Facebook for you folks. And if I haven't vetted it. I'm just putting it there for funsies.
No, we
Cool.
trust you, man.
Yeah.
What
Well,
am I doing
I
at
don't know if
work
I should trust
watching
my wife.
this?
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'll shut this down. So if folks are still listening, it's time to stop listening.
It says Pequeños Karatekas too. That's
Yeah, I
very
know.
funny.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I was in
Pequeños
tag along or
Karatekas.
something, I guess, if it's Filipino.
No, it's
Okay.
yeah,
I've
I
seen
love
it.
it.
I've seen both of these.
Bye bye to listening
Somebody
folks.